An Iranian drone just hit a British military base in Europe, not the Middle East, Europe. The Mediterranean island of Cyprus, home to RAF Akrotiri, was struck on Monday by an unmanned Iranian-made drone. And now 4 European nations are sending warships to the eastern Mediterranean in response. This is NowBurst. This story is developing fast, and most people haven't grasped the scale of what's happening. Here's the full picture. Cyprus is an EU member state sitting roughly 200 miles from the coasts of Syria and Lebanon. The United Kingdom has maintained sovereign military bases there since 1960. RAF Akrotiri has been a major staging point for British operations across the Middle East for decades. When the United States and Israel launched their air campaign against Iran, those bases suddenly became a lot more relevant and a lot more exposed. On Monday, a drone struck RAF Akrotiri. British officials said the damage was minimal and there were no casualties. But the damage wasn't the point. The target was. For the first time, the war between the United States, Israel, and Iran reached European soil. The response came fast. On Thursday, Italy's defense minister Guido Crosetto told Parliament that Italy, France, Spain, and the Netherlands would send naval assets to protect Cyprus in the coming days. France is deploying the Charles de Gaulle, its nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, to the Mediterranean. Spain is sending the Cristobal Colon, its most advanced frigate. Greece is contributing Navy ships. The stated mission is protection and civilian evacuation if needed. But the military buildup doesn't stop at Cyprus. France announced it would allow U.S. aircraft to access some of its bases in the Middle East during the conflict. The French military said those bases help protect partners in the Gulf. Italy said it would also provide air defense assistance to Gulf countries affected by Iranian strikes. Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said on RTL radio, quote, "We are clearly talking about defense, air defense. Not just because they are friendly nations, but because there are tens of thousands of Italians in that area and around 2,000 Italian soldiers that we must protect." The United Kingdom is reinforcing its own position. British Defense Minister John Healey flew to Cyprus on Thursday. Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced that the UK is sending Wildcat helicopters fitted with Martlet missiles capable of shooting down drones, along with the HMS Dragon. The Dragon is one of the Royal Navy's 6 Type 45 air defense destroyers. It carries a Sea Viper missile system that can launch 8 missiles in under 10 seconds and guide 16 simultaneously. That is a serious amount of firepower converging on one small island, and the diplomatic picture underneath it is just as messy. Spain is sending its frigate to Cyprus, but Madrid has been under intense U.S. pressure for refusing to let Washington use Spanish bases for operations against Iran. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez compared the Iran war to Russian roulette and has publicly defied American trade threats over the issue. Spain's position is that protecting Cyprus is a European obligation, not participation in America's war. That distinction matters to Madrid. Whether Washington sees it the same way is another question. Starmer's position has shifted too. The UK Prime Minister initially refused any role in the U.S.-Israeli campaign against Iran. He later agreed to let the United States use 2 British military installations for what he described as a specific and limited defensive purpose. Those 2 facilities are in Gloucestershire in western England and at Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. Starmer has insisted that Akrotiri is not being used by U.S. bombers. Then a drone hit Akrotiri anyway. The key question for defense analysts now is whether the drone targeted the base because of its role in the broader conflict or simply because it was an easy Western military facility to hit. Iran has not publicly stated its reasoning for the strike. If it was a calculated message that no Western base in the region is off limits, the implications stretch far beyond Cyprus. Meanwhile, the people who actually live on Cyprus are watching warships gather off their coast. Cyprus's High Commissioner to the UK, Dr. Kyriakos Kouros, said on BBC Newsnight that Cypriots feel disappointed at the level of information shared with residents after the strike. His words were direct. The people are disappointed. The people are scared. The people could expect more. Families of British service personnel have already been moved away from Akrotiri as a precaution. The diplomatic question now is whether this European military mobilization stays defensive or whether the line between protecting Cyprus and participating in the wider war begins to blur. France opening its Middle East bases to American aircraft suggests that line is already thinner than any European capital wants to admit. 4 countries, multiple warships, an aircraft carrier, helicopters with anti-drone missiles, a Type 45 destroyer, all converging on an island smaller than Connecticut. 2 days ago, most Europeans thought this was someone else's war. The families packing bags at Akrotiri this morning know it isn't.